Chosen one, if you're hearing these words right now, this is not an accident. In the next 17 minutes, you're going to discover the 3 invisible gates that have been blocking every financial prayer you've ever prayed, and exactly how to unlock them before this weekend's. You've been carrying a weight heaven never intended you to carry alone. The sleepless nights over bills. The quiet shame when you can't provide like you used to. The exhaustion of stretching what cannot stretch. You've prayed. You've believed. You've waited. And you've wondered, God, do you even see me? Here's what heaven wants you to know. The delay isn't rejection. There are 3 gates. Gates only you can open. And once you do, God will flood your life with ideas, people, timing, and provision you never saw coming. But you must listen all the way through. Everything changes after gate 3. Before we go further, if your spirit is confirming this word, type 999 in the comments right now. That's your agreement with heaven. And subscribe, because this message is just the beginning of what God is about to release to you. The instructions aren't finished. Let's go. The 3 financial gates God cannot open for you, but will show you how. Chosen one, let me tell you about Michael. Michael was 58 years old, church deacon, faithful man, and every single Sunday for 11 years, he prayed the same prayer. God, please send me a financial breakthrough. 11 years. Same prayer. Same struggle. You know what else Michael did? Every Monday morning, he'd tell his coworkers, "Man, I'm always broke. These bills are killing me. I'll never get ahead." Until one Sunday, his pastor pulled him aside and said, "Michael, God has been trying to answer your Sunday prayers, but your Monday words keep canceling the order." Michael stood there, stunned. There was a gate he'd been locking with his own mouth, and God couldn't open it for him. Here's the truth, chosen one. There are 3 gates standing between you and your financial breakthrough, and God will not open them for you. Not because he lacks power, but because you hold the keys. Let me show you. Gate number 1. The gate your words built your mouth is not just a speaker, it's a gate. Proverbs 18:21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." Your words create atmosphere. They invite angels or build barriers. Here's what most people don't understand. Angels respond to faith declarations, not complaints. When you pray for provision, but spend the week declaring poverty, you create spiritual static. Heaven hears conflicting signals. This isn't positive thinking. This is spiritual law. There's a difference between speaking about your situation and speaking to your situation. "I'm so broke," sock complaint. That's a locked gate. Right now, money is tight, but God is opening doors. Faith. That's an unlocking key. Let me tell you about Linda, 62 years old, widow, fixed income barely covering rent. She used to say, "I can't afford anything. This debt will bury me. Nobody will hire me at my age." Then she made a decision. She changed her words. "I'm learning to steward well while increase comes. I'm paying this down and freedom is coming. My experience is valuable and the right door will open." 4 months later, part-time consulting gig, $2,800 a month. 6 weeks after that, unexpected tax refund, $7,200, paid off her credit card. 3 months later, contract position, $65,000 a year. Same woman, different words, different result. Here's your assignment. In the next 24 hours, catch yourself. Every time you're about to say something negative about money, stop. Reframe it. You're not lying. You're unlocking. Say it with me right now. "I'm believing for multiplication." That's gate 1 opening. Gate number 2. The gate. Your fear. Locked now? This gate is harder because it's invisible. Let me tell you about Janet, 47 years old, single mom, 2 kids, medical billing job, $41,000 a year. For 6 years, she had an idea: medical billing consulting for small clinics. She had the expertise. She had potential clients asking. She knew it would work. But fear whispered, what if you fail? What if you lose what little stability you have? What if you can't provide for your kids? So she stayed. 6 years. Safe. Stuck. Struggling. Then her company downsized. She got laid off. The safety net vanished. She started the business out of desperation. Within 8 months, she was making $78,000 a year. She told me, God was trying to open that door for 6 years, but my fear kept it chained. I thought I was being responsible. I was actually being disobedient. Here's what you need to understand. Fear is a master of disguise. Fear masquerades as wisdom. I'm just being practical. Fear masquerades as responsibility. I have kids to think about. Fear masquerades as humility. Who am I to think I could succeed? But here's the twist. What if your fear isn't protecting you? It's costing you. Think about the last 5 years. The promotion you didn't apply for. The business you didn't start. The conversation you didn't have. Add it up. Not just money, opportunity, growth, purpose. Now ask yourself, what if God's been trying to push you into that scary place because that's where your breakthrough lives? Look at the biblical pattern. Moses, go to Pharaoh, terrifying. David, fight Goliath, impossible. Peter, step out of the boat, illogical. Abraham, leave everything, insane. Notice something? God's biggest blessings are always on the other side of, this is crazy. Let me show you 2 men, same situation. Tom, 55, hated his job, needed change, but fear kept him frozen. Stayed 22 years in the same position. Never updated skills, never took risks. Today, same job, watching younger people pass him. Robert, 56, same industry, same frustration. But at 54, he took a certification course, cost $1,200, scared him. At 55, he applied for a remote position he felt unqualified for. At 56, making $89,000, working from home, more time with grandkids. Same age, same background. One locked by fear, one opened by faith. Here's what I want you to do this week. Think of one thing you've been too scared to do financially. Asking for a raise, starting a side business, going back to school, having the money conversation, just one thing. Now do something small toward it this week. One phone call, one email, one application. God doesn't need you to leap the mountain. He just needs you to take the first step. That's gate 2 unlocking. Gate number 3, the gate your past sealed. This is the heaviest gate, and most people don't even know it's there. Let me tell you about David. 61 years old, veteran, hard worker, good man. But every job, every opportunity, every relationship fell apart right when it was about to succeed. Pattern for 30 years. One day, someone asked him, David, who hurt you with money? He got quiet. Then he said, my father. He borrowed $15,000 from me when I was 25. Promised to pay it back. Never did. Died without ever acknowledging it. There it was. The locked gate. For 36 years, David had been subconsciously punishing himself for his father's betrayal. If his own dad could steal from him, nobody was trustworthy. So he'd destroy opportunities before they could destroy him. Until he forgave. Not because his dad deserved it, but because David's future didn't deserve to stay chained to that pain. Within a year, contract job that became full-time, $67,000, benefits, stability, at 62 years old. Here's what you need to understand. Unforgiveness isn't just emotional, it's financial. When you refuse to forgive someone who hurt you with money, you create a spiritual blockage. Bitterness becomes a filter. It changes how you see opportunities, how you trust people, how you make decisions. 3 ways unforgiveness blocks money. 1. The trust filter. Someone betrayed you financially. You stop trusting anyone with financial opportunities. Your old boss stole credit for your idea. Now you refuse to share ideas with your new boss, who actually wants to promote you. Cost. Advancement, partnerships, growth. 2. The worthiness wound. Someone made you feel financially stupid. You believe you are financially stupid. Your ex-spouse controlled all money, called you irresponsible. Now you're terrified to make any financial decision. Cost. Confidence, action, opportunity. 3. The revenge tax. Someone hurt you. Subconsciously, you stay broke to prove they damaged you. Your parents said you'd never amount to anything. Part of you stays stuck to prove them right. Twisted validation. Cost. Your entire future. But here's the twist most people miss. The person you need to forgive might be you. How many of you are still punishing yourself for the business that failed? The investment you lost money on? The debt you got into? The job you got fired from? You keep replaying it. I'm so stupid. I should have known better. I ruined everything. Every time you say that, you reinforce the prison. Listen to me. God has forgiven you. When are you going to forgive you? Let me show you 2 women, same mistake. Sandra, 52, lost $18,000 in an MLM scheme in 2015. Spent 9 years saying, I'm so dumb, I can't trust myself. Today, still paycheck to paycheck, 9 years of stuck. Maria, 54, lost $22,000 in a bad real estate investment in 2015. Said, that hurt, I learned, I'm wiser now. Took a course, started small. Today, owns 3 rental properties, $4,200 a month passive income. Same mistake, different response. One stayed in shame's prison. One walked into wisdom's freedom. So here's what we're doing right now. Close your eyes if you're somewhere safe. Ask yourself, who do I need to forgive to unlock my financial future? A name will come, maybe multiple names, maybe your own. Now pray this out loud with me. God, I release name. I forgive them for what they did. I choose to no longer let this person have power over my financial future. I break the tie between their actions and my destiny. I am free. They are forgiven. It is done. Say it right now, even if you don't feel it. Faith isn't a feeling, it's a decision. Before you go to bed tonight, write down the names of people you need to forgive, what they did, what it cost you. Then, one by one, say, I forgive, name. I release them. I am free. Then tear up the paper. Burn it if you can safely. Throw it away. Visual symbol that it's over. All 3 gates are now open. And when all 3 gates unlock, chosen one, something supernatural happens. Heaven doesn't just send money. Heaven sends 4 specific miracles that money can't buy. And that's exactly what we're about to walk through next. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover will change not just your bank account, but your entire financial destiny. The 4 financial miracles God performs when all 3 gates are open. All right, chosen one. Now that all 3 gates are unlocked, let me show you what happens next. Because here's what most people don't understand. When you open those gates, God doesn't just send money. That's too small. That's too temporary. He sends something far more powerful. He sends 4 specific miracles that will not only change your bank account, they'll rebuild your entire financial foundation. And what I'm about to show you, you need to write down. because this is how heaven operates when the gates are open. Miracle number 1. The idea miracle. When heaven downloads solutions you never could have thought of on your own. Let me tell you about Sarah, 43 years old, divorced, 3 kids, struggling on $38,000 a year as a school secretary. Her gates were locked tight. She spoke lack every single day. She was paralyzed by fear of starting anything new, and she hadn't forgiven her ex-husband for the financial devastation he left behind. Then she did the work. She opened the gates, changed her words, faced her fear, forgave the pain, took one small step of obedience. 3 weeks later, she's sitting at her kitchen table, watching her kids eat spaghetti for the 4th time that week because groceries were tight. And something happened. An idea dropped into her mind. Clear, specific, out of nowhere. Meal prep service for busy single parents. 5 dinners, $60, delivered Sunday nights. Now, Sarah wasn't a chef. She didn't have business experience. She didn't have startup capital. But the idea wouldn't leave her alone. It felt different. It came with peace and clarity she'd never experienced before. That's how you know it's from heaven. It comes with peace, not panic. So she posted on Facebook, "Anyone want healthy, affordable family meals delivered?" First week, 3 orders, $180. Second week, 12 orders, $720. 6 months later, 60-plus weekly clients, $14,400 a month. She quit her secretary job. Today, she's making $172,000 a year from a kitchen table idea that heaven downloaded directly into her spirit. Here's the principle. Chosen 1. God's strategy is always idea before income. We pray for money. God sends ideas. Why? Because money is temporary. Ideas are generational. Money runs out. Ideas multiply. Money can be stolen. Ideas can't be taken from you. When your gates are open, you become a receiver. Heaven starts broadcasting on a frequency you couldn't pick up before. Suddenly, you're downloading solutions, strategies, and creative paths that were always there. You just couldn't hear them through locked gates. Look at the biblical pattern. Joseph didn't get money. He got the ability to interpret dreams. That idea made him second in command of Egypt. Bezalel in Exodus 31. God filled him with divine ideas for craftsmanship. Those ideas built the tabernacle. Solomon asked for wisdom, not wealth. The ideas came first. The wealth followed naturally. Now, some of you are saying, "But I've had ideas before. They didn't work." Let me tell you why. Wrong ideas come when gates are locked. Fear-based ideas. I should just do what's safe. Low ceiling, no growth. Comparison ideas. I should copy what worked for them. Already saturated market. Desperation ideas. I'll do anything for money. No sustainability, no joy. Right ideas come when gates are open. Peace-based. This feels aligned with who I am. Unique. Nobody in my circle is doing this exact thing. Persistent. I can't stop thinking about this for weeks. Sarah's idea worked because it came from an open gate, not a desperate mind. Here's what I want you to do this week. Pay attention. When your gates are open, ideas will come. They might come in the shower, the middle of the night, during a random conversation, driving in your car. When an idea hits you that gives you peace, plus excitement, plus this could actually work, write it down immediately. Don't judge it. Don't dismiss it. Don't wait. That might be heaven downloading your next chapter. Miracle number 2, the people miracle. When divine connections find you without you even looking. Let me tell you about Robert, 59 years old, truck driver for 34 years. Decent money, but his body was giving out, knees destroyed, back in constant pain. He needed a change, but had no idea how to transition. Then he opened his gates, forgave the old business partner who'd betrayed him 15 years ago, started speaking faith instead of complaint, updated his resume for the first time in 3 decades, a small act of obedience. 2 weeks later, he's at the grocery store on a Tuesday afternoon, buying milk, standing in line, minding his business. Random guy behind him says, "Excuse me, is that a Wilson Freight hat?" Robert says, "Yeah, I've been driving for them for years." Guy says, "No kidding. I used to drive too. Now I manage logistics for a regional distribution company. We're actually looking for someone with your exact experience to train new drivers. Office job, same pay, way less physical. You interested?" They exchanged numbers right there in the cereal aisle. Robert interviewed the following week, got the job, $62,000, Monday through Friday, home every night, training role instead of destroying his body on the road, a grocery store, buying milk, divine appointment. Here's what you need to understand. Chosen one, your breakthrough is attached to a person, and that person is already assigned to you, but they can't find you if your gates are locked. Why? Because when fear, unforgiveness, and negative words create a spiritual barrier, you become invisible to divine connections. Not physically, spiritually. You avoid places. You don't have conversations. You isolate. You assume nobody can help. But when gates open, something shifts. You start showing up differently. You go places you wouldn't have gone. You have conversations you would have avoided. You're receptive instead of guarded. And that's when the helpers appear. Look at the biblical pattern. Ruth happened to glean in Boaz's field. That coincidence led to marriage, provision, and the lineage of Jesus. Esther happened to be seen by the king. That moment saved her entire people. David happened to bring lunch to his brothers on the battlefield. That day, he encountered Goliath and his destiny as king. Coincidence? No. Divine appointments orchestrated by heaven. Let me show you 2 men, same need, different gates. Kevin, 61, needed a new job, hated his current one, but his gates were locked, bitter about past betrayals, fearful of rejection, speaking defeat daily. He stayed home, applied online only, avoided people. 18 months later, still stuck in the same miserable job, more bitter than before. Marcus, 60, same situation, same frustration, same need for change. But his gates were open. He forgave those who'd hurt him. He spoke faith over his future. He took small actions, went to a church men's breakfast he almost skipped, met someone who knew someone, had a conversation. 6 weeks later, new role in a growing company, $15,000 raise, better culture. The difference? Kevin hid. Marcus showed up. And here's the truth. God can't connect you to people you refuse to be around. Here's what you need to know. Divine connections don't always look impressive at first. Sarah's first big client that launched her meal prep business, her daughter's soccer coach, Robert's career-changing job, guy in line buying milk, Maria, a woman I know who started a consulting firm, her business partner, a woman she met at a garage sale who happened to mention she had the exact skill set Maria needed. Today, they run a 7-figure business together. God often disguises million-dollar connections in ordinary, forgettable conversations. That's why you can't dismiss anyone. Here's your assignment this week. Go somewhere you normally wouldn't go. A networking event, a church small group, a community class, a coffee shop instead of your couch, somewhere with people. And when someone random tries to talk to you, don't brush them off. Have the conversation. Be present. Exchange information. You have no idea who God has assigned to connect with you. But I promise you this, they can't find you on your couch. Miracle number 3, the timing. Miracle. When suddenly replaces eventually. Let me show you what happens when all 3 gates open and God decides it's time to move. Linda, 51, opened her gates in March. April, random call from an old colleague she hadn't spoken to in 6 years. Job offer out of nowhere. $74,000. Started in May. 1 month from open gates to employed. James, 66, opened his gates. Finally forgave himself for a bankruptcy that happened 10 years prior. 3 weeks later, notification in the mail. Inheritance from a distant relative he didn't even know existed. $47,000. 3 weeks. Patricia, 44, opened her gates. Applied for one job she felt completely unqualified for, but sensed God saying, apply anyway. Interviewed Friday morning. Hired Monday afternoon. Doubled her income, 3 days. You see the pattern? Suddenly. Here's the principle. Chosen one. God's economy operates in suddenly. 40 years wandering in the wilderness. Suddenly, promised land. Decades of barrenness. Suddenly pregnant. Sarah at 90. Elizabeth in old age. Hannah after years of waiting. Slave rotting in prison for years. Suddenly, second in command of Egypt. Joseph's story. When God decides it's time, He doesn't need years to turn things around. He doesn't need months. He needs obedience. He needs open gates. He needs you in position. The question isn't, how long will this take? The real question is, are my gates open? Because breakthroughs don't come gradually when heaven intervenes. They don't trickle in. They come suddenly, unexpectedly, undeniably. Your job isn't to figure out the timeline. Your job is to unlock the gates and expect suddenly. Change your language right now. Stop saying maybe someday. Stop saying I hope eventually. Start saying I'm expecting suddenly. Say it out loud with me right now. I'm expecting my suddenly. Say it again. I'm expecting my suddenly. That shift in expectation changes everything. Miracle number 4, the multiplication. Miracle. When small, becomes supernatural. Let me tell you about Christine, 68 years old, retired teacher living on a tight fixed income, Social Security and a small pension. That's it. She opened her gates, did the work, forgave, spoke faith, stepped out in small obedience. 1 month, after all her bills were paid, she had $200 left. That's it. $200 to last until the next check. Then she felt it. That still, small voice in her spirit. Give $50 to that single mom at church, the one struggling. She argued with God in her kitchen. Lord, I only have $200. I need this. Felt it again, stronger. Give the 50. She wrestled with it. Fear said keep it. Faith said release it. Finally, she wrote the check. $50. Tuesday morning. Dropped it off to the young mom with a hug. Thursday, her daughter called, voice excited. Mom, I just got a bonus at work I didn't expect, and I feel like God's telling me to give you $1,000. Friday afternoon, old friend she hadn't heard from in 2 years called. Christine, you helped me through a really hard season years ago. I've been thinking about you. I want to repay you. Can I send you $500? Monday morning. Mail arrived. Property tax refund she'd completely forgotten about from an overpayment 3 years prior. $800. $50 given on Tuesday. $2,300 received by Monday. In 6 days. That's not math. That's not logic. That's multiplication. Luke 6:38 says, "Give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over." This isn't give to get. That's manipulation, and God sees right through it. This is circulation. This is the spiritual law of sowing and reaping. Here's what you need to understand. God sees your motives. If you give to manipulate a return, it won't work. If you give with a clenched fist and resentment, expecting God to owe you, the gate stays locked. But when your gates are truly open, when your giving flows from gratitude, not greed, when you give in obedience, not obligation, watch what happens. Heaven responds. The principle is firm. Open gates plus obedient giving equals supernatural return. And here's what most people miss. The return isn't always money. Tom gave his time, mentoring a young man for free. 6 months later, that young man's uncle offered Tom a consulting contract, $30,000. Jennifer gave her graphic design skills to a nonprofit for free. 2 months later, a board member from that nonprofit hired her for a major corporate project, $55,000 contract. Margaret gave away clothes she no longer wore to a struggling neighbor. 1 week later, unexpected favor with her landlord, rent reduced by $200 a month for a year. Sometimes God multiplies money. Sometimes He multiplies opportunity. Sometimes favor. Sometimes relationships. Sometimes health. But when gates are open and you give in obedience, multiplication follows. Here's the warning. Don't test this principle with locked gates. Don't give with wrong motives. God is not a vending machine. But when your heart is right, when your gates are open, when you give because God prompts you, not because you're trying to force His hand, that's when supernatural multiplication happens. So here's where we are. Chosen one. You now know the 3 gates you must unlock. The gate of your words, the gate of your fear, the gate of your past. And you now know the 4 miracles God performs when those gates open. The idea miracle. Heaven downloads solutions. The people miracle. Divine connections find you. The timing miracle. Suddenly replaces eventually. The multiplication miracle. Small becomes supernatural. The question isn't, will God move? The question is, are your 3 gates open? You've got your assignment. You know what to do. Now go do it. This week, today, right now. And when your breakthrough hits, and it will, chosen one, it absolutely will, I want you to come back here. Drop your testimony in the comments. Tell us what happened. Because your story won't just be for you. Your story will be the key that unlocks someone else's gate. Your testimony will give someone else the faith to open their gates. That's how the kingdom works. We break through. We testify. Others rise. Now, let's pray together. Before we pray, if this message has stirred your spirit, subscribe to this channel right now. Heaven isn't finished speaking to you. More prophetic instruction is coming. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and type 9999 below as your agreement with this word. Your breakthrough is here. Now let's pray.